Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a movie I bought yesterday. Oh yes, I was out at Family Video, and they had a massive liquidation sale on just a ton of movies, and this was one of them. They were selling them for $3 each. This was the only one I found that was worth buying. So the reason why I bought it and the reason why I'm going to cover it right now is because it is the latest entry in what is quite possibly one of my favorite horror franchises. See, I'm a fan of the Hellraiser films, guys, and as a fan, I can tell you that, yes, a whole lot of the series is very much a case of hit and miss. Most people are willing to openly agree that the last two films are absolutely unwatchably shit. However, everything else is usually a little bit more sketchy, because some people enjoy the early ones, some people enjoy the later ones. I'm not going to get into that, though, because I'm not covering any of those. Tonight I'm covering the 9th installment, which came out last year. The title, oh boy, they must have really been racking their brains on this title, because it uses one of those cliche catch-all subtitles you throw on the films. Tonight's movie is Hellraiser Revelations. Oh yes. I just sort of guessed that they didn't want to go with like Hellraiser Evolution or Hellraiser Resurrection, so they went, fuck it. We'll just call it Hellraiser Revelations and we'll be done with it. But anyway, I'm going to tell you guys one thing about this movie. This is the only thing I know about it. This is going to be the first time in the history of this franchise that the lead character, Pinhead, or well, the poster child and mascot for the series, Pinhead, is not played by Doug Bradley. I don't know if this new I don't know if this new actor, I don't even know his name. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Doug Bradley. I mean, it's going to take a lot to even match what Doug was pulling off in the shittier entries in the series. So he has huge shoes to fill. Now, I am going to see if this is any good, because knowing Hollywood, they're probably going to pump out even more films in the series, probably with this actor as Pinhead. So might as well see if I might as well see if any of the other upcoming sequels are going to be worth it. So without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Hellraiser Revelations. So one of them killed a hooker in a Mexican bathroom. Yeah, that's... He killed a fucking hooker, dipshit. What the fuck does it look like he fucking did? Alright, this is the first time I've ever said this, watching a Hellraiser film. Jesus, fuck, this movie's boring as shit. I mean, yeah, the previous two were crap, but... And one of them put me to sleep because I was dumb enough to try to watch it at 2 a.m. But at least neither of them were boring. This thing, there's nothing happening. And it's beginning to depress me a little bit. That's never a good thing, guys. Okay, so now we have brother and sister, biological brother and sister, making out, and brother's already up to second base. Yay! Hooray for incest! That's really what I wanted when I thought I'd watch a fucking like Hellraiser movie. Oh yeah, the fuck was that? So he was in a big fucking hurry to get her to open this puzzle box. Yet, they had enough time to clear the table and surround the table with tea candles for her to solve the box in. I guess he really wasn't in that much of a fucking hurry then, was he? Folks, there is a lesson to be learned here. When Pinhead tells you politely to shut the fuck up, you shut the fuck up. Otherwise, he will send hooks to rip open your fucking throat. That was awesome. Well, guys, That was Hellraiser Revelations. Wow. Let me stop the movie here. So now I have the daunting task of trying to review it. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of a tough one. I can kind of feel it. But I should say this. I've noticed over the course of this series that I have run into a lot of movies where they start off really, really good. And when I say really good, I am talking just the interest level just shoots straight up. The movie's starting off, it's really good. And then it hits a peak, and then it just goes right downhill, and then the movie winds up sucking ass. I don't think I've run into any instance where the reverse has happened. Until now, at least. Yes, guys, Hellraiser Revelations, with its really almost criminally short runtime of 75 minutes, starts off really sucking for about the first half an hour or so. Then it takes off. It basically is like, you guys can pinpoint exactly when the film's interest began to go up. And it was when I accused the movie of sucking. At that point, when I looked right at the camera and said, this movie is beginning to bore the fuck out of me, that is when it decided to get interesting. It was at that point that the story took off, and it started to feel like a real Hellraiser film. In fact, Revelations here it has the spirit of the original films. And I'm talking like the early films. This thing feels almost like a somewhat poorly written lost sequel that could have like been crammed between, like, say, Hellraisers 4 and 5. It's like in terms of quality. And that's saying a lot, because when I first saw this thing, when I first saw the box sitting at Family Video, when I saw this very case sitting at Family Video, in fact, I feared the worst, because at the very same time, the studio that put it out, which is Dimension Extreme, also churned out direct-to-video sequels to The Children of the Corn, The Howling, and I believe one other franchise, but I can't think of it right off the top of my head. And I just thought all of them were cheap, shitty cash-ins. This thing started to feel like a cheap, shitty cash-in, and then the story began to take off. Oh, well, actually, correction. This one here didn't, start off sucking and then get good. It really was almost like a roller coaster ride in quality, because the film starts off really good for the first 15 minutes or so, and then the middle 15 to 20 minutes it goes straight down, and then it spikes up again for the last half of the film. I've never seen that happen in any other film, and I think I should try to explain. First of all, the writing. That's really where the biggest problem lies, is with the writing. Because there's that huge lull in the middle of this fucking movie where nothing happens and there's nothing even worth looking at. It makes me wonder why the hell they didn't try to, to go and try to condense that shit down and try to expand on the more interesting parts. However, if you were to cut the shit that really doesn't fit there, then we would have had a Hellraiser movie that probably wouldn't even have clocked in at a fucking hour. And that would probably have been seen as a bad thing. So besides the fact that we have a story that just opts to fucking, all but die around the middle, and then somehow come back to life, that is a huge problem, because that shows major inconsistencies in terms of writing. Otherwise, the characters really aren't all that likable, but frankly, since this is a Hellraiser film, that is par for the course. I have yet to see a Hellraiser film where we've seen a lot of likable characters. Almost everybody is a vain, arrogant sack of shit, because we all know, because people who've watched the films long enough know that damn near every single one of them are going to be covered in hooks and chains and tortured at some point. So it kind of helps if none of them are likable. It actually makes you kind of cheer a little. So mission fucking accomplished. And our one likable character is, well, the one who lives. spoilers for anyone who wants to watch this. If you find a single character who you think is somewhat likable, that person's going to live. Alright? I'm not going to spoil who, because you might actually want to watch this thing at, some point. I do have one mention, though, in terms of casting. I stated earlier this was the first Hellraiser film to not have Doug Bradley as Pinhead. The actor who came in to replace him, I don't know what the hell his name is. He almost works as Pinhead. Well, just let me attempt to explain. If they do make another movie, which they are almost bound to be, it's just this weird feeling, I can almost tell there's going to be a 10th film in the series. What he has to learn is, Pinhead does not emote. Because this actor spends the entire film with this weird, scowl on his face, which looks like somebody just off camera just blew a real nasty, rank fart, and it's beginning to offend him a little. He has that kind of just slightly irritated, annoyed, sneer on his face for the entire movie. Now, Pinhead, in the previous films, at best, might grin a little. Or he might frown slightly. He might, fucking yell a little bit. But the big thing was that Pinhead had been completely rendered all but emotionless because of his experiences with the other Cenobites. That is part of the that is part of the trick. That their fucking gift of ultimate pleasure through ultimate pain leaves you devoid of emotion. And the guy who plays Pinhead here apparently didn't get that fucking memo, because he always has this, fucking sneer. He always looks pissed. In fact, on the cover, you can see him, snarling almost. He looks pissed. That means he's sort of failing a little bit. Okay? That really is the only note I have, is if he can wipe that stupid snarl or that sneer off his fucking face, he will be a fantastic Pinhead for movies to come. And if he can't, then I really hope they can cast somebody who can play a little bit more stone-faced when they're in the makeup. Speaking of the makeup, let's cover that. Oh, first I should finish off on the acting. The acting is good. The acting is nothing ultimately special. Everybody's able to play their fucking, unlikable characters very, very well. And the one person who actually has to play a likable character at least puts in a passable effort. So acting's ultimately nothing too special here. Makeup, though, is where this film gets really schizo. I must try to explain. You see, the makeup on every single one of the Cenobites, which includes skinless fucking Nico, who looks really cool. We also have a pseudo Pinhead. It basically is almost like Pinhead's making a junior version of him. That looks really good. Chatterer looks awesome. Pinhead looks cool. It's like they did a great job when they were doing the makeup on the Cenobites. Then there's a few other moments where the makeup is not that good. The one moment I must stress on this is when one of the characters has their face sliced on with a blade. Now, I should mention first of all that the cut went from here to here, and it ripped off a small hunk of flesh in this area. Yet, when the guy's carried into the house, it looks like he tried to kiss the business end of a fucking weed whacker. And what's worse is that you can clearly see the seam where the makeup ends and his natural skin starts. And it just looks so jarring, and the camera is almost focused right on that fucking seam that is going to pull you clean out of the fucking movie. As if, having a character demand that the fucking puzzle box be opened right now, but first, we have to get everything ready, so we have to have fucking tea lights and a clean table. Besides that, sort of pulling you out a little bit, the fact that the makeup in that one scene was so awful, it just pulled me out, and if you notice it, it'll probably pull you out as well. Camera work. There's a lot of shaky cam in this fucking thing. partially because the movie starts with essentially like camcorder footage. I can totally understand all of that being done with a shaky style. But when it's not the camcorder, we shouldn't be getting shaky cam, alright? It was hard enough to notice the dead hooker in that Mexican bathroom because the camera was jittering and shaking, and there was no fucking excuse for it because it wasn't the camcorder the character carried into the bathroom in the first place. It's really kind of sad. You know, it's just, there was no fucking excuse for the amount of shaky cam in this fucking movie. I really just, it would probably have looked better if they didn't have that in there. Sound is very, very good. However, this is a Hellraiser film, and if it had shitty sound, that would probably be criminal. Because part of generating the atmosphere for these films is the sound. You have to have that creepy sound. You have to have that perfect sound of chains, of fucking chains rattling and church bells ringing every time the puzzle box is opened. And they nailed it. It was perfect. The music was awesome, and the sound effects were great. Sound in this film was absolutely flawless, and I really can't fault anything there. Now, we get to the hard part. Whether or not I can recommend this movie. Because, see, even though it is better than the last couple of Hellraiser outings, it's definitely better than Deader, it's certainly better than Hellworld, and it kind of falls even with, let's see, 5 and 6 were Inferno and Hell and fucking Hellseeker. So if you liked those, and you kind of liked the quality on those, you might find something here. This movie is almost good enough for me to totally recommend. However, that really dead moment in the fucking middle, as well as the couple of issues involving makeup and shaky cam and, you know, like plot holes and questionable writing, it makes it very difficult for me to 100% recommend this one. So, I should say, if you've never seen a Hellraiser film yet, do not start with this one. Go start with the first one, and then move your way up from there. Watch 2, watch 3, watch 4. This one is one of the few series I could definitely say you want to start with the first one, and you want to watch them in fucking sequence. And once you get up to 5 and 6, if you're still liking everything you are seeing once you are done with 5 and 6, go ahead and check out this one. If you're someone who was a fan of the films in the past and you haven't seen them in years, go ahead and check out this one because it might bring back decent memories. And if you're really only looking for memories, you can still just go back to the older films instead of experimenting with something new. If you are looking for a good horror film, especially by modern standards, you really cannot fail here, because it's better than almost any fucking horror. It's better than almost any horror film that has been put out theatrically in the last couple of years. But that's not saying much. In fact, fuck, that's saying nothing. So yeah, again, it's very difficult for me to give this movie a solid recommendation. However, if you find a copy somewhere, like if they have it on Netflix, if they have it on Hulu, if you have a video store in the area and they have a copy somewhere, rent it. Go ahead, rent it. Because guess what? Renting it'll only cost you, what, $2 at best. And if it's on Netflix, I never bothered to look, then what the fuck? It's free. Go ahead, watch it, and see if you like it. However, as for a solid recommendation to purchase, well, I bought my copy for $3. I really do not feel cheated out of those $3. I actually think it was sort of worth it. But if I had bought this thing for, say, $7, I would probably have felt horribly ripped off. $3 is kind of sort of the limit I would go to. So if you can find a copy of it for roughly like $3, hey, go fucking nuts. Because there's no way in hell you will ever feel cheated after spending $3 on a fucking movie, unless it absolutely blows ass. So, folks, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.